Hi everyone. This is episode one of my journey in building Work Lessons 101. This episode is going to be regarding writing the book behind Work Lessons 101. I need to apologize. This is kind of my very first YouTube video, first journal entry into the journey of establishing a business. I keep watching Gary Vee videos on Instagram, just to give him a little toot because this book changed my life. Crushing It always discusses about, documenting the journey because you'll improve along the journey. So I'm assuming in a year from now, I'll look at this video and be like, yeah, I didn't make enough eye contact, so forth and so on. But I should have started this series nearly 2 years ago when I started actually writing the book, but it didn't occur to me. So Work Lessons 101 is a book. It's what they don't teach you in school. It summarizes 101 work lessons that I've learned either through my own career or watching the same blunders of peers kind of go through it. So getting a little ahead of myself, so I kind of explained to you how it all came to be. So back in May of 2017, I was just about to enter my 11th year of my career. I have spent the last 13 years working in the engineering construction industry for a major American corporation. I had moved into the project management group by this point in my career, and I was running a sustaining capital portfolio project, and I kind of was just at a crossroads in my career. I just wasn't happy. It's not that I didn't enjoy or what I did or find it challenging. I just didn't love it. I liked it, and I was at a point in my career where I really wanted to do something I loved, something that I was passionate about. It wasn't that I was thinking of quitting my job. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I started to go through some of my documentation. So I got my resume. I have an actual Bible resume. I really strongly suggest to all you younger employees that at the start of your career, you just start a resume portfolio where all your accomplishment, all your achievements, everything you've done in your career kind of goes into this massive document. And as you start to apply for jobs or start up companies or so forth, you kind of just take tidbits that are relevant for the job postings, but it's all there in one document, your entire progression. So I got my Bible resume up and I started going page through page. At this point, it's about 10 pages long. You start to just see all the accomplishments that you have forgotten about over the course of your career because it just may not be applicable to where you are right now in your career. So it was kind of a confidence builder at the time, and I just realized that I had accomplished so much in 11 years that, maybe it was time to move on and to do something different. And at the same time, I had a new mentor at work assigned to me, and I was telling him how I kind of wanted to go more into the talent development spectrum, where I wanted to develop young talent and help them kind of find where they wanted to go in their career. And he said, well, you're an engineer, you're a project manager, you don't have any experience in that. How are you going to build something that can differentiate yourself from people who've done it for 10 years prior to you and have a lot more experience? So, I didn't really think too much at the time of that, but going through my resume and kind of going through this crossroads and a couple years ago, I was kind of like, well, I don't know. So I grabbed up some of my personal journals that I've always kept, kind of a journal diary from day one of my work. I really strongly suggest people to do that. And I started kind of going through it page by page, and for my first 6 years of my career, I accurately documented a lot of the milestones and achievements and setbacks and blunders I made in my career. And this kind of light bulb went off in my head. I was kind of like, there's nothing really out in the market right now that really teaches people how to be good at their jobs. A lot of things target entrepreneurs and starting up your own business, which is, if that's what you want to do, it's go for it. And there's so much material out there that can assist you. Crushing It's one of the books that I would strongly suggest you read because it talks a lot about building a personal brand, which will link into a company and anything. And so I kind of just went through this book front to back, and I started to be like, well, there's a lot of content in here. So I started to structure it in lessons and started to build a table of contents. And then all of a sudden I had 160 lessons. And I'm kind of like, oh, wow, I could write a chapter on each one of these. But 160 is way too many. Obviously, not all of the lessons there were very I thought were very strong. I think some of them were probably very common sense or things that I could put under different topics. So I ended up getting it down to about 120 and started to structure it. And then this concept of Work Lessons 101 came into my head. And I was like, well, what if I have 101 chapters in the book documenting the lessons that you really need at the beginning of your career and as you progress through your first 10 years of your career? What are the things that people need to learn that they don't teach you in school, that they don't prep you for in school, that so many people in the corporate world will just never tell you about it because they're competing against you? What can I do to help people? And so that's where these 101 lessons essentially started. And then I started to break them down into categories, into essential themes. And so eventually I got it into 101 chapters under 8 themes. And the themes are: before you start, know your company and industry, play well in the sandbox, leave your mark, know thyself, use your senses, know what's in your control, and then bringing it all together. So before you start are a lot of the lessons that you're going to see when I launch out my Instagram and my LinkedIn and my social media campaign in the following weeks. A lot of the content is going to start from those sections, which is essentially finding the proper mentors, effective mentors, people that will actually help you, give you the feedback that you critically need in your career to start off well, how to build your network, how to just learn some essential lessons like effective resume writing, how to sell yourself, how to prepare properly for an interview, some critical stuff that I just don't feel school properly prepares you for. That's the first theme. And the second theme is know your company and industry. So once you pick a kind of the area you want to pursue in your career, there's just so many things you need to know about company hierarchy, the unwritten rules of an organization. They preach one thing, they might do another thing. Learning the unwritten rules will help you maneuver the corporate ladder so much. And there's ways to figure this stuff out. So this is some of the stuff that I've documented in the chapters in these work lessons. The next one, play well in the sandbox, is obviously how to be a team player, how to get along with others, how to become a likable, how not to alienate people. Because people don't tend to promote people they don't like nor respect. So, some basic lessons surrounding that. Leave your mark is kind of like how to become a go-to person, like how to be that high potential and get labeled and build a reputation that's flawless, that's bulletproof, that people can't target you or you make you a target and destroy, how to protect your reputation. A lot of the lessons are targeted towards that. So the first half of the book is very much in establishing your credibility as a young employee that can feed a very strong reputation. That can help you build an influential and diverse network, which will just be so critical in a successful career. The next one is know thyself, which is, I would say, the second half of the book. So I would say the first 4 themes of the first volume of the volume 1 of the book, and then volume 2 is the next 4 ones. So know thyself is so many lessons surrounding just self-awareness, how to self-assess, how to analyze your results, because so many people think they're superstars. They got these great results that they can't quantify, and then they continue to make the same mistakes over and over again because they don't properly assess their mistakes and their struggles, and they don't learn from them. So that's kind of a big chunk of that area. Use your senses a lot more around common sense based, like how to read an audience, how to choose the right words and the right tone, right body language on how to sell something to an audience. Know when to shut up, when to speak up. These are very, very common sense things, but they are very hard, especially in confrontation, or if your boss is yelling at you, if the client's yelling at you, your customer's not happy. Coming up right on the spot in a heated moment takes practice and experience. Very few people are good right from the get-go in their career. There's some tips that I have learned to really perfect that I really wanted to share with people because I see it so commonly with so many young professionals speak when they just should remain silent. So that area kind of targets that. Know what's in your control is just where to spend your time. So many people don't spend their time on stuff they can truly influence and change. There are things in your career that will happen to you. You'll be overlooked for promotions you deserve. And some of the lessons that I've learned, how to analyze, how to find the truth, that people aren't maybe giving you the critical feedback that you need so desperately to hear. And then the last section, bringing it all together, is essentially all 7 themes together, which is like the real critical career-changing lessons that you need a whole whack of people to help you with. And that's essentially the book. So I sat back and started trying to write. So I had the table of contents, the themes, I was ready to go. I just started writing at the beginning, here and then. Didn't work. Not for me, it didn't. I needed a method. So many people have these ideas for books and they never write them. I learned that I never felt motivated to write, ever. So out of the 101 work chapters that I wrote, I think 5 of them I felt motivated or inspired to write. The rest of them I had to force myself to sit down and write it. That was the first challenge, is just to do that, get into the habit of it. And then was to find the time that my best writing came up, or that I had the energy to write. So I worked a corporate job. I'm a project manager. I have direct reports. I have just clients constantly calling me. I'm exhausted very much at the end of the day. It's at least a 50-hour week, many times 60 hours minimum. So I found my best writing didn't happen at night after work. My best writing happened on the weekends. So this is where the sacrifice of building a business comes in. I worked almost every weekend for 11 straight months to get the first draft of that book written. Every day. I started around 10 a.m. Saturday morning, and I wrote pretty much till 6 p.m. Sunday night. I didn't write every day. I might have proofread, edited, did certain things for the book every day, but I wrote primarily on the weekends, and it took about 11 months and 11 months of weekends to write the book. And I got there. It was a struggle, but the smile on my face when I finished my first draft was unbelievable. I even get emotional thinking about it, because it was just such an accomplishment. I had failed so many times writing books before. This one, it was done, it was ready, it was great. Then the real challenge happened, the real setback started. Editing. Fuck, I suck at editing. And I learned that. I started it and I got to it. As I wrote more, my writing did get better, so the editing did get easier as I progressed through the book. I decided to write the book in chronological order, because that's how it happened in my career. The lessons at the beginning of the book are for someone straight out the gate, right out, or people that are still in school. And then the lessons at the end of the book are people several years into their career. I think it's relevant for anybody to read because you can learn ahead of time. And all these things. So I started editing in May of 2018. I thought I could get the book published that September. Yeah, I wasn't even finished my first edited draft of the book till the end of July, or June or August. I couldn't even remember. Let alone, I've currently done 3 drafts of the edited version of the book. So when I started writing the book, I did send it off to colleagues of mine so they could do some test audience. So I did get feedback as I was working and writing the book. I did change my table of contents as it came about. One of the chapters I did add in the book was on critical feedback, on how to take criticism, because it's so important to be able to take criticism and to learn from your mistakes, because not everyone is fully self-aware. We all have weaknesses that we may not see. We don't understand always how we make other people feel. This stuff is so critical, so I ended up putting a chapter in the book on it. That was one of the things. So as I got through the editing, I realized that I'm not very good at editing my own work. The book is far too long. It was 169,000 words by the time I finished it. I need to get it down to 100,000 words, so that is what I'm currently working on right now. The manuscript is actually with a professional editor just to give me a manuscript assessment to see if I can actually accomplish anything. Should I split the book into 2 volumes? Do I cut out half the content? Do I move books into the lessons and then into a workshop book? Because there's a lot of practical examples in the book and exercises within the book that might be better in a second version of people who really gravitate to the content. There's many things like that that still need to be worked out. So one of the lessons I learned in all this is you need to think about your brand and the marketing you want to do for the book at the very beginning of the book. It's going to evolve and change over time, just like my book's contents evolved and changed over time, especially with my test audience feedback. Branding and marketing have a huge part of it. So that is what I'm going to start to discuss in episode 2 of this journey, because that is when I really started to dip in and how I'm going to sell and market the content of the book, how to grow a following, whether to try to get a major publisher versus or self-publish myself through Amazon or something like that. I've done a fair bit of research. There are definite perks with self-publishing. These are just some of the lessons that I've learned. So in summary, if you want to write a book, write. Your content will develop as you become a stronger writer. Just write. Don't wait till you get motivated or inspired. Write, write, write. And then reassess it, edit it constantly, rethink about it. Learn what produces your best work, whether it's the weekends, writing at late at night, early morning. Do you get your best ideas when you're in the shower? Do you get your best ideas when you're out for a run? And really start to nurse that, because that's where a lot of your ideas come from, and a lot of the talent, your ability as a writer or even a business owner, anything that you're pursuing will come from, is in these moments of clarity when you're kind of drifting, and then all of a sudden, boom, you get that light bulb. And then, that's how it's happened with the branding, and how I've read a lot of books and just talking to people and get feedback, because what you think's fantastic might not be fantastic, or your audience might misunderstand what you wanted to do with something, or the message you're trying to get out. So in conclusion, thanks for watching. Please follow me on my Instagram account. That's where a good chunk of the content of the book I'm posting daily is. Anyways, all the best. See you in episode 2.